I look at Prospekt as the other Hunt Down the Freeman. Now, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely nowhere near as bad as Hunt Down the Freeman. That would be an accomplishment in its own right. But it is effectively just a Half-Life mod that became purchasable on Steam, making it a quote-unquote official Half-Life game without being an official Half-Life game. It's also not particularly good. This raises the question of how strict Valve should be with their IP. Games like Prospekt and Hunt Down the Freeman
up my face.
really shouldn't be on Steam, especially when Prospekt bases itself on being an opposing force sequel. Yeah, you play as Adrian Shepard in this game, during the events of Half-Life 2. As a mod, cool idea. As an official game, this shouldn't be purchasable. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want Valve to go full Nintendo and control literally everything and shut down people for being fans of their game. I hate it when devs do that. But there's a very distinct difference between, say, Hunt Down the Freeman and Black Mesa. One of these definitely deserves the Valve stamp of approval, while the other does not. And while Prospekt is nowhere near as offensive as Hunt Down the Freeman, it definitely shouldn't have gotten the stamp of approval. This game is not offensively bad. If this game was just a mod, I don't think people would have been that offensive towards it. In fact, I don't think many people would have even known it existed. But as a purchasable Half-Life game, it gets a lot more scrutiny. So what's going on in this game? Well, as I mentioned, you are playing as Adrian Shepard during the events of Half-Life 2. You know how you were effectively put into limbo at the end of Opposing Force by G-Man? Well, this game starts by the Vortigaunts saving you and pulling you out of that limbo. It unfortunately has the worst voice acting I've ever heard for a Vortigaunt. In fact, I didn't even realize this is supposed to be a Vortigaunt until about halfway through this cutscene.
Hello, Shepard. Please bear with us. For our safety, we are keeping our distance from you due to your past reputation with our kind.
This is the kind of stuff that you do expect from a mod, but when it becomes a full game, people have higher expectations, like decent voice acting. Anyway, this entire cutscene can be summed up with, "Hey, Adrian Shepard, you're pretty cool. Gordon Freeman needs help. We're saving you. Help us now." And that's basically the whole story. From this point on, nothing more happens. There's no more cutscenes. You don't really know why you're doing any of the stuff you're doing. You're just helping Gordon by killing Combine. I mean, I guess that helps him, but why specifically? Like, how do my actions here translate to helping Gordon during Half-Life 2? There is one cool thing about the story, though, I will admit. Every once in a while, you'll get flashbacks. They're not really flashbacks, they're just auditory flashbacks.
Hey, Bombs, you seen that weird G-Man walking around lately?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I saw him yesterday.
I've seen him nearly every day.
Sheps was with me. He kept staring at Sheps, too.
The voice acting here is actually pretty decent, and it's interesting to listen to you talk with your Marine buddies. They'll mention G-Man from time to time, and while this doesn't really offer any unique, deep insight, it's nice to have a bit more backstory with a character like Adrian Shepard, even if it isn't canon in any way whatsoever. So, yeah. That's the story. Nothing. Graphically, I don't have a whole lot to say. This is a purchasable Half-Life mod, so it looks like Half-Life 2. There's no new content, no new weapons, there's nothing you haven't seen before, with the exception of returning to Zen for about 5 minutes for one short platforming section, so this hardly even counts. While I know most people really did not like Zen from Half-Life 1, I like the idea of what Zen is, so I would have liked to see more Zen, at least for variety's sake. And also, I think Black Mesa did a good job of what Zen can really be. Okay, so this is all stuff you would expect from a mod, nothing too crazy yet. In fact, this is actually kind of a little more than what you would expect from a mod. The real thing that will sell a project like this is the gameplay. So how's the gameplay? Well, pretty repetitive and boring, I'm gonna be honest. Now, I first played this game back in 2016. That was before I took this specific channel seriously. I do have other channels, by the way, that came before this one. But at the time, this was just a place to dump footage that I wanted to show my friends. I did not take it seriously. Or if I played a game in its entirety, I would occasionally just chuck it up on YouTube. But when I played Prospekt, I played it for 3 hours, was not impressed at all, and just deleted the footage. I didn't want to bother. The things I did remember is that this game has way too many Combine and ridiculous difficulty spikes, and I wanted to see if those two things changed. Well, the first thing didn't change. You pretty much just have 3 enemies in this game. A Combine guard, a Combine shotgunner, and an elite Combine. There are some other enemies in this game, but there's so few of them that they hardly count. You come across a few encounters with zombies and headcrabs, and then never again, and you come across 2 different encounters with never-ending spawning antlions, and then never again. Perhaps this is a good thing, because never-ending spawning antlions is just annoying. I don't care if Valve did it, I don't care if I can stop them by pushing cars over the holes in the ground, it's just annoying. There are man hacks. Quite a few of them actually. Joy, the enemy that most people don't find fun to fight anyway. And there is one fight with hunters. Just one. Most of this game takes place during Nova Prospekt, and personally, I've never really cared about that section of Half-Life 2. It's dark, it looks dull, I don't know, didn't care about the location at all. Not saying it can't be fun, but I'd rather be in City 17 or out in the forest in Episode 2 or something. The game doesn't help itself since it all looks the same anyway. One of the first encounters in this game is this big open courtyard with never-ending spawning antlions. You come into this base, shoot down all the Combine, and then press a button. I don't really know what this button did, and I need to figure it out. Otherwise I'm gonna run out of ammo by all the antlions that won't stop attacking me. I stumbled around here for a little bit, not forever, and then I eventually realized that I have to walk on the other side of this gate and then jump up these boxes. Now this is something I noticed over and over again when playing through Prospekt, but the direction you were supposed to go feels unintuitive, like that's not the way you're actually supposed to go. Now I never really got stuck for very long, if at all, but you can't tell me this looks like the direction to go. It's usually tucked away in a dark corner away from light sources, and it just doesn't feel like the right way to go. Now when I say that, I mean that in the sense of, while someone that plays a ton of video games will probably quickly figure out that, alright, that's the direction I need to go, video games are not usually made for the person that has played it a million times. They're usually made for someone that just got home from work and only has an hour or so to waste time before going to bed. And in that case, I look at it and go, it doesn't seem like this jump would be the direction I should be going. I made it first try, but it doesn't feel right. This isn't even necessarily a negative about the game, it's just very odd. Except for the one time where it actually did get me stuck, because I looked at the direction of where I needed to go many times, but thought to myself, there's no way they would have me do that. And that's just jumping up here and then walking up top. I assumed that wouldn't be the way to go, so I kind of wandered around looking for a button or something and thought I was just missing the obvious. Like I said, I never really got stuck for an extended period of time, it just is very strange. The one time you come across zombies, they're laying on the ground and they were making noises, so I knew they were alive, but they weren't doing anything. I eventually walked up to one of them and hit them, and they all sprung up, and then I just killed them. And then I saw the switch I missed and turned on the power, and I assumed this is when they were supposed to pop up, but one was laying in the way in front of me, so I just missed the switch. And then after this, you are just going to fight Combine for the rest of the game. This gets really repetitive. It's the kind of game you'll play for 40 minutes and it feels like you've been playing it for 2 hours. Especially because the level design and combat encounters isn't particularly good. Every once in a while you come across a big room, which usually has the downside of not enough cover, but most of the time you will just be going down hallways shooting Combine. And I don't even know what to add here, because how can I explain shooting the 200th Combine for the last 2 hours? You walk into a room, Combine pour in at you, you kill them, you do it all over again. It almost feels more like a Half-Life version of Serious Sam, except for a lot less enjoyable. Especially because your weapon roster is limited. You don't even get all the guns you get in Half-Life 2. You do get most of them, but there's a few notable absences. The ones that are excusable are the gravity gun and bug bait. It would make sense why those aren't in here. However, you never get the crossbow, so that thing is gone. The rest of the weapon roster is here, so that's nice, but there's one really big problem. You're playing as Adrian Shepard. I don't know how you effectively make an Opposing Force sequel and don't include any of the Opposing Force weapons. You get a crowbar instead of a wrench, and you get a revolver instead of a Desert Eagle. You never get the saw, you never get the spore launcher, it's just the guns you've already used plenty of times again in Half-Life 2 with linear, boring maps. It's interesting that you get rocket launchers in this because you never have to fight anything that requires rocket launchers. No gunships or helicopters or anything like that. You do fight hunters, but this happens before you get the rocket launcher. And this fight isn't particularly good. All of them pour out of one door. This is kind of frustrating because this arena is decent. There would have been a lot of different ways to go had the hunters come in from different directions. But since they come out of one door, I just killed them with the pulse rifle split function until I ran out of ammo, then swapped my SMG grenades and shot them right there. You have to fight 6 hunters here, by the way, which is kind of ridiculous. And then you never see them again. Hunters really are a super underutilized enemy, and I would love to see them more in mods. Anyway, after about 2 hours and the 2 millionth Combine you've killed, G-Man comes along and just kills Vortigaunts in the silliest way possible. Apparently it was just that easy and episode 2 didn't even need to happen. He grabs you and puts you back into stasis, and the game ends. What was the point of all of that? How was I helping Gordon? How does this relate to Half-Life 2? Aside from the obvious you're killing Combine, thus good for Gordon, but like, you know what I mean. There was one good thing I could say about this game. On launch, this game had ridiculous difficulty spikes. This room sticks in my head, because you come into this room, there is absolutely no cover, and Combine constantly pour out at you. I remember this room being near impossible when the game just came out, and very frustrating. But I didn't really struggle that much with it here, so I looked at all the updates for Prospekt, and yeah, back in 2016, reduced difficulty was one of the things they changed. Nothing else here really changes the game drastically, but reduced difficulty is a nice quality of life change. The only other introduction this game got was the introduction of 5 bonus maps. And these are instant fail stealth maps, woo. Out of all the things to improve on this game, I don't think adding bonus stealth maps was one of the things you needed to bother with. I hate instant fail stealth missions in pretty much every game. These are bad, don't bother. But other than that, what I found really interesting is that there is a ton of updates from the dev. These updates were really slow because the dev was working on another game at the time called Gunsmith. This got a mostly positive reception. It seems to be more of a tycoon style game, not really my thing, but hey, I'm happy for him. Really interesting departure from a first-person shooter, but hey, stepping stones you gotta learn somehow. Anyway, more importantly, when I was digging through these updates, I found that they had models for the Wrench and the Desert Eagle, and were planning to add them in, along with a bunch of other maps. But none of this stuff was ever added to the game, and the last update they gave us was back in 2020. The last official in-game update was back in 2016. It's pretty safe to assume this game is dead. They're not going to do anything more with it. I just find it fascinating to look through all of this work that will probably never end up in the game. And I'm going to be real, all of this looks way better than the original game. There's more environmental variety, and the weapons line up with opposing force, as they should. However, I highly doubt we'll ever see any of this, and to be frank, would anyone even go back to care? If they did, the game could definitely use that extra content, because even while I was taking my time and goofing around and stopping constantly to ramble at my chat about something unrelated to the game I was playing, just hanging out, having fun, Rule 34 be like, I mean, look at that, you got that little third arm, most unique hand jobs you'll ever get in your life. It only took me 2 hours to beat. If I was just playing the game on my own, probably an hour and a half max. It's definitely a game that's not good and got a negative reception for a reason. People have higher expectations when you have to spend money, and when you officially attach yourself to the Half-Life franchise, now you got real high expectations. If it was just a mod, like I said, I doubt anyone would have thought much about it. With all of that said, I don't get the negative vibes with this game that I did with Hunt Down the Freeman. With Hunt Down the Freeman, there's a bunch of mismanaging and a lot of drama behind the scenes, but with Prospekt, it seems like a genuine attempt to make a good game, a learning experience. It almost feels like I'm bringing up a dev's past, and I kind of feel bad for that, but it's something I've put off making a video on for a long time. It's always been an interesting case for me. But that should sum up everything I wanted to talk about. Huge thanks to my YouTube members. If you become a member, you can see my videos at least 1 week ahead of time. And if you like this content, consider subscribing. I'm trying to reach 250k and I'm getting pretty close. Thank all you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.